So if you're watching this video, you might encounter this issue as well, where you only get 10 URLs instead of 42. Hello everyone, welcome back to another web scraping tutorial with me, Aina. In today's video, we're going to learn on how to scrape the data from Zillow property for sale listing. We're going to divide the scraper into two parts, which is the first part, we're going to scrape the information that appears inside the search page itself, which consists of the photos, the house URLs, the prices, the number of bed, the number of bathroom, the house area, and then the address. And then inside this address we can categorize it into street, city, state, and then zip code. And then we're going to get the lot size and house type as well, which we cannot see here, but this is actually accessible from the backend, which I'll show you in a second. And then the second part is going to scrape the data there are inside this property page itself, which the data that we want are the build year, the description, the number of days in Zillow, the views saved, the total saved, the listing dates, and then the realtor information, which is their names and then contact information. And you can find all this step-by-step tutorial here inside this Verify community blog post, where I'll share the link in the description. So all this data we're going to save as a CSV format. So if you can see here, we got like a lot of information over here. This is the example that I scraped before, which consists of the page 1 until page 10, which consists of 110 data. As normally inside the Zillow, there will be 42 data inside the first page. Okay, now before we get started, make sure you already have Python installed inside your local machine, and you can actually run this code inside this Google Colab. So if you go to this URL, you can run the code inside this Google Colab. And secondly, it is highly advisable to use some proxies, because as you may know, Zillow have quite strong anti-bot detection, so you don't want to get your IP getting blocked in the future. And the proxies I'm using here today is from the Ryobyte, where you can get your 50 megabytes of data if you sign up. So firstly, you can create the project inside any of your directory, and then open up your terminal. And then we're going to install this Python library, which is request and beautiful soup 4, in order to scrape the data. And then after that, you're going to, if you're using proxy, I highly suggest you to save all the proxy information inside .env file, which is going to be more privately. So you can run pip install python.env as well. And finally, let's open up your preferred code editor, which is I'm using VS Code, or you can run your code inside this Google Colab as well. So here is my Jupyter notebook. And then firstly, you can find this source code inside the GitHub repos as well. And firstly, I import all the libraries here. So let's run this one. You can click on run button here, or you can click on Control Enter or Shift Enter. And then we're going to use some header to make sure that it's kind of coming from a browser. And then if you're using proxy, you can insert all your proxy credential here, or you can create a new folder that called .env to save your proxy credential, which is I already did, so I'm just going to run this one. And then since firstly, we're going to scrape the data from the search page, so I'm going to send the request to this URL, but you can change to any other location that you want. For example, you want to scrape from South Dakota, and you can see here the URL is changed to SD instead of NE. So you can use that also. So for instance, here in Montana, it got empty. You can copy paste this value. So here I'm using the NE, which is, let's run this code. And then let's send the request to that URL using our header and the proxy. So if you don't have proxy, you can run this code here. And then let's see the status code. Okay, so here we get 200, which is successful. And then let's get all the information using beautiful soup, where we're going to assign a variable here, soup. And then we're going to parse the content inside it. So beautiful soup is like a tool that allows you to get all the information inside the web page. So imagine that you have a bowl of soup, and then you're going to use the spoon to scoop the content inside your soup. So beautiful soup act as a spoon that allow you to scoop all the information inside the web page. So normally here we're going to see. So let's go back to our search page, and you can right click and click on inspect, or you can click F12, and then you see the arrow icon here. Let's click on this, and then let's hover over the element. So here you can see the UL that contains all the information. So if we expand on this UL tag, we can see the LI tag that holds all the individual we can call here list as a listing card. So let's get this value here, and I'm going to assign a name that called listing card soup.find all, because we want to find all the information inside it. So if we use soup.find, it's only returns to you the first information only, as we want all the information inside the page. So we're going to use find all, and then we're going to get li tag with this class name. So here you can see I put this class name here, and then let's try sending the request to it, and we can see here it got 42 item, which means inside this search page we got 42 listing item here. And then now let's try to get the information inside the listing card. So we're going to get the first item, which is we're going to assign it like this, and let's hit on run, and then let's get the house URL. So normally the URL are inside the a tag within the href element. So if we go back on this here, and let's for example hover over here, and here we can see a tag with this href, which is we see it is actually the properties page, individual page. So this is how we're going to run this. So you click on run, you get this here, which is the one that appear inside this one. Okay, so this is another. So this is the one that we got. And then if we want to get all the information over here, we can look inside the list. So if we click on run here, and then click on run here again, oops, we can see here they only return to us only like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 elements only, and another part is just written none to us. So if you're watching this video, you might encounter this issue as well, where you only get 10 URLs instead of 42. So I think this is because like Zillow recognized you as a bot, so that's why it didn't allow you to get all the information inside it. So one way to resolve this issue, you can use Selenium, but as we know, Selenium takes quite some time to get the information. So after doing some diggings, I found that actually if we go back to our page, and then let's click on view page source, and let's get this URL for example. So you need to activate this line wrap so that you can let's copy the link address here, and if we copy on here, yeah, they got all these URL, but if we try to inspect, we have like some sort of JSON format here. If we see here, it got inside the detail URL, and if we scroll, it's actually this information are written inside the JS rendered thing. So as we see here, it got the script with the we got the script with the ID is equals to next data. So now we're going to use this information. We're going to use this to get the information inside the web page. So the way that we're going to create is we're going to create a new variable that I call here content, and then we're still going to use soup.find script, which is actually a script tag, and then the ID is equals to next data. And if we click on run here, we got all the element. So let's bring the content here to see. So we got all this content inside the script function. In order for us to access the data easier, we're going to convert this data to JSON format, which here we're going to import JSON. We're going to convert the data into a string first before, and then we're going to get the data. We're going to convert the data inside JSON format. And then now here, and then so after run this, so I create a new file that called output.json so that it will be easier for us to access the data. So if we click on run over here, and we can find this output.json inside our directory. So and now how to access the data inside JSON format is we're going to find, so here, let's see, it's actually inside this detail URL. Let's copy this value and Control F, and then find this detail URL here. So you can access this detail URL inside. So I'm calling here a new variable that called house detail, which is we're going to call the data, which is this one. So actually this output.json file you can delete later on. The way that we're going to access the data inside our JSON format are we're going to create a new variable here that I'm calling here house details, which is we're going to call the data, which is our JSON data. And then the infos here is inside the props. You can see here page prop, and this here is search page state, and then inside search page state it is inside the cat1, and then search result, and then list result. All the information are inside this. So as you can see here, you got the details URL, you got the status types and the price, and then this street name. You got basically everything inside this one. So this is the home type, which is a single family. So here, to access the first element is the same as before. We're going to use house detail 0, and if we click on run, so we just run this code, and then to get this detail URL, let's call the detail, which is referred to this one, and then detail URL, which is referred to this part. So if we click on run here, you can see it returns the URL for us. And in order to get all the URL, you can run loop for loop here, and let's run, and you see here you got all the URL inside the first page, which is here we got 41 URLs. So another data is straightforward as well, where the image URL is going to be the carousel photos. You can inspect these data inside here, and then you can get all the information here straightforward. So now in order to assemble the code into one, to scrape, so this is the full code to scrape the data inside the first page, which is consists of the same one that we use that we just create inside our Python, inside our Jupyter notebook. So here, and then to get the information on the next page, so in order for us to get the information inside the next page, we're going to inspect the URL. So as we see here, the first page is going to be like this, and then if we click on next button here, you can see here it got 2p, 2_p, and then so on and so forth. And let's see, the third page is going to be 3_p. Here we can conclude that it's increased one in a subsequent page. So we're going to get we're going to insert inside our code where the base URL inside of this, and then we're going to create a loop while loop. We're using while loop because if you, for example, you want to scrape page 1 to page 10 only, you can use like this. So after it hit the 10th page, it will break the code. And then if you want to run for all pages, you can change this 10 to none. You can find this code that are called all pages, where if you scroll and inside this main function, you can set this value to any page that you want, or none if you want to scrape all the pages. And if we see here, I create the loop where the while loop, and then if the page is equals to 1, we're going to call the base URL itself. As we see here, if it's inside the first page, this value didn't appear. If the page is not equals to 1, it will call the base URL, which is this part, and then it will add the page, which is 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So this is the final value here. You can see this is all the data for the first part, which is consists of house URL, photos URL, price, full address, and then etc. And then if you just need this data, you can stop here. And that's it for the first part of the scraper. And then for the second part, we're going to send the URL to the house, the individual house, which which later on we're going to save inside another folder, where you can see here it's called output 2, where it still have the information from the first part, but also the additional part from the house page itself. In the second part, we're going to send the request to the house URL itself. So for here, if we go to this house page, so now let's click on this, and we're going to send a request to this URL, and then it's the same as previous step, and we're just going to use this soup, the normal one. So here, so this value are straightforward actually. So here you can access this. So let's wait, why it didn't, you see here, it's because we're sending requests inside this and it's just getting this. Okay, now you see we got all this value over here. We get now inside this page, we can right click and click on inspect, same as before, and then we're going to get the value inside this content. So if we go here inside this property page, and then let's click on this arrow icon, and yep, you can see here I create a new variable that called content soup.find div, and then this class name, the as data view list. And then if you send the request here, and then you can run this code, and then you can skip on this part and get the year. The years are inside this. So here you can see it's inside a span within the class name, this one. And then since they have kind of like similar value within the same class name and the same tag, so let's try to find the string that have built in. So it's kind of like we kind of send more specific to our soup to find the information for us. And if we run this code and we get this year build, which I think this data is from the other house. So this data is coming from this. Yeah, it was built in 1984. So after you get the year built, and the other information are straightforward as well. So you can find all the details here that I write on here. And then this is the final code here. Add other info, where you can run this code to scrape the data and modify this value here with your input. For example, if you want to run from the 1 to 10 pages, you can use this one, or any other output from your first scraper. And yeah, that's it. But in the case that you want to scrape a lot of data, I highly recommend to you using the proxy rotation, where you can find the code inside here, where you need to download the proxy list inside your whatever proxy dashboard, and then you can create here a file that name proxy.txt, because here we're going to load this file here. But if you got another name, you just need to replace this name, but it should be in txt format. And then this here you can see it's load from your environment. And then yeah, it's just gonna use one proxy for one pages, and then it will rotate and so on and so forth. So I highly recommend to you go through this article, because I explained everything in details inside this. And yeah, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye bye.